Join me, Lou Diamond, on a new podcast show called Why They Listen, where I sit down with incredible leaders and communicators from different industries, unique platforms, and special programming from across the globe, and take a deeper dive into not only how they communicate, but how they connect and engage audiences, and why those audiences listen. You can find a new episode of Why They Listen wherever you listen to your podcasts or at Aimcast, AIMECAST.com.
Oh my sweet Jesus. It's Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond.
I don't need to teach you to be more like me. I need to teach you to be more like you.
Longtime listener and a huge fan.
Lou, I am tremendous.
And the more I'm plugged from technology and people, the more I can serve people with technology.
What you're standing for with connection, I think it's the key to everything.
You're just an amazing breath of fresh air for sure.
You're a diamond in the rough, my man.
Because for me, if I'm not living high energy, I'm surviving and I want to be thriving.
Get ready to thrive loud with Lou Diamond.
I love it.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond, connecting you to the most inspiring and amazing people that are thriving each and every day. I'm your host, Lou Diamond. Today on Thrive Loud, one is a world best-selling author, America's ambassador of possibility, speaker, philanthropist, humanitarian. The other is an international speaker, researcher, corporate consultant, author, and entrepreneur. Combined together, they're truly a dynamic duo, a power couple, and always inspiring audiences. Thrive Loud listeners, please welcome Crystal Dwyer Hansen and Mark Victor Hansen. Crystal and Mark, how are you today?
It's a joy to be with you. I tell you, we were laughing before we got on the show, so it's got to even be better after the show.
Most people are laughing at me. You know, that's usually the case. But in this case, we're laughing together. I think that's a good thing, right? Crystal, I've learned this lesson a long time ago. I'm starting with you. Let's talk about what is going on right now in the world of COVID that we're recording. This is in December 2020. We're capturing this. Tell me what you guys have been focused on, because you guys are usually traveling the world and going around and spreading the message. What's been going on in your world today?
Right. So we launched this book, our new book, Ask. It's our first co-authored book, by the way. Ask, the Bridge from Your Dreams to Your Destiny. We launched it April 28th, right in the beginning of COVID. So met with our publisher, decided, a lot of books were being canceled or pushed to the fall. We said together, we decided, let's go for it. We realized that the world needed this message right now because there was a ton of uncertainty, as there still is, and we all needed to find a way to ask our way forward. And so I guess God had a big plan for this book, because we had no idea that this was going to happen right when we launched our book. But as it turns out, we've been able to help so many people. We're getting these incredible letters that are like, thank you. I had lost hope. And this book is giving me, a pathway with some real tools to move forward. So it's been pretty incredible, Lou. I mean, we had some huge events canceled, of course, that were around our book launch. But because of podcasting like yours, it's really been amazing, honestly, to sit like this and be able to reach so many people. It's been really a lot of fun.
Definitely. Mark, I want to spin this to you. Obviously, you have co-written a lot of books with different people. Listeners, most notably, I have, and it's in the bookshelves behind me if we looked for it, Chicken Soup for the Soul, which is one of my favorites, and a bunch of others. But Mark, you've never co-written a book with this interesting pair here. What was that experience like for you?
First of all, I've written 312 books, sold 500,000 books. I'm elated to write. I'm addicted to writing since I was 16 years old. So I found my right livelihood, thank God. And even when bankrupt before, I really found it. But writing with Crystal has been a dream, because what happens is we've traveled to 80 countries, talked to some 7 million people. And what happens is they kept saying, wow, why can't we succeed? And so we started looking at our own lives, where our ups and downs and the vicissitudes. And what we discovered was that why we got out of the doldrums, why we got out of the stuckness, why we got out of the withholds, and some people didn't, is one reason only. And we knew how to ASK to GET the answer. And we knew how to ask ourselves, ask others, and ask God, which are the three principles that we're teaching throughout this book. Ask, the bridge from your dreams to your destiny. Because we think last point is that everyone's got a destiny if they're alive. And while we're all sequestered or in a cocoon right now, we're trying to break that out. What people are writing us is that they're not buying one book, they're buying 3, one to go over with their mastermind partner, their spouse, their kid, or whatever, or church, temple, ashram, mask person. But the other thing is they're giving one to their libraries. I'm amazed. It's just astounding to us.
I want to understand a little bit before we dive into Ask. I love asking authors this question. You have a certain writing process, Mark, you've been going on for a while, and now you've had to combine it. This is not easy. Was this, you were working together on the messaging? One was writing one idea, one was writing another, you'd get together and spit it all out. What was that process like? I'll start with you, Mark, and then I'll ask what it was really like with Crystal.
Everybody listening, he's got the truth down. Because I write voluminously and way overwrite everything and then try to edit it down. And luckily I've had phenomenal editors at 7 major publishers. So I am the most blessed guy on the planet, but she is the best. But she did something that never been done before. And that is write a fable of Michaela to start this book. And she did it in 4 parts. And I said, no, sweetie, it is so powerful. We're going to do it as a prologue. And she agreed. And the people read the prologue, and what they're doing is they're saying, it got me so much, I read it to my wife. Then I woke up my kids, I read it to my kids, and then I called him my father, and I read it to him, and you go, wow. I mean, because it hits the spiritual zone that my dream someday was be like Shakespeare, and we've obviously been to London and all that, all that stuff that maybe you've been when we could all travel. And it's fascinating that you write to every man or every woman, and that's what Shakespeare did, and did such a brilliant job at. Crystal?
So what was it like, Crystal? For real? Come on now.
So yeah, no, I'm like the organized one, truthfully. Yeah. So, I kind of insisted on like fleshing out our organizational chart, and we did that. We organized the book the way we thought. And it was really a lot of fun because we do this sort of hour-long meditation prayer session together anyway every morning, where we ask the questions. We ask, are we on target? What are our priorities? Blah, 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 blah. A lot of the things we're teaching in the book. And so that's where we were able to pin down sort of a structure for the book. And then honestly, I didn't know, Lou, how it was going to go, but we both kind of just took our own zones and ran with it. Mark's really great. We interviewed 26 people for the book and got their asking stories and their asking journeys. And so he's super great at making those connections and getting everybody to sit for the interviews and that sort of thing. I broke down the interviews probably more than he did and really wrote the stories. And, then he put his own philosophies. I take his and it's like fine edit that, and then bring all of because I'm a transformational coach and board certified hypnotherapist. And so then I brought all of my work to the table and then kind of wrote the transitions in between. So it all came together really well. I think Mark and I are really good at understanding our strengths, and we just play to those.
It's interesting because I want to share this with you. One of the things that I'll work with top performers on is, and a lot of salespeople, is helping to not come from a place of telling something, but more importantly, come from a place of asking something. That there is so much more power when you ask questions, as opposed to telling someone what your story is. And from a sales perspective, I could let you know that when you connect with someone and you ask them a ton of questions and you come from ask, you're in a state that helps to make people connect faster. Talk to me about your philosophies of where asking comes from, because I connect so much with this title that I'm trying to get. I understand your 3 principles of where you're going for the book is from, but do you cover something like that in this?
Oh, totally. You wanted me to take it? So I'll start. I mean, absolutely what you said is so true. And there's been tons of studies on it. We looked at all the studies, and basically, if the best askers are perceived to be the most likable people, whether it's in business or a dating relationship, whatever it is, because if you're willing to sit and ask another person questions, it means you're interested in them. And, we have a story in the book, it's about, landing like the big behemoth by Preston Weeks. It's such a great story because it's an example of that. Like the philosophy they use in their company is to go in and, we're all tempted to go in when we want to do business or do sales and run in and start telling them how great we are, how great our services are, our product's the best, and this is why you should use us. This is all about us, right? And the opposite is true. I mean, you should, and he talks about this in the story, how they went in, they approached the company and basically gave an overview of their skills and capabilities, but then turn it to the client. Yeah. Because you can't sell anybody anything unless you understand who you're selling, what they want, and what they need. And the only way you get to that point of understanding is to start by asking the right questions. And so we have all that stuff in the book, and it is so powerful. These lessons are so powerful and so game-changing. Mm-hmm. Absolutely game-changing in business. They're game-changing in relationships. They're game-changing in every aspect of life. And we wrote to that. We wrote to, there's a section on asking in your health and wellness, asking for, career, asking in relationships, and then also asking for your life purpose. Because we always need to live in that question, live in that inquiry, because that is how we move forward.
Mark, I want to spin this to you. Why ask now? Why this year did this come up, and why was this the topic that you wanted to bring to the world?
Well, our corporate symbol happens to be a butterfly. And as you know, a butterfly starts out as a caterpillar, and there's no way you look at caterpillar and predict butterfly. And so what happens is right now, all of us are in this cocoon, like I mentioned a minute ago, but we're talking about not just the three of us, we're talking about 8 billion of us around the planet are in lockdown, which is good and bad. From an entrepreneurial point of view, all the lockdowns in America's ever had, 1898, 4 things came out of the Depression of 1898. We had the automobile, we had the Wright brothers decide to fly Kitty Hawk, we had a little guy named Edison come up with all kinds of stuff, not the least of which is electricity, and of course, motion pictures, humma humma. And then you had a little guy named Alexander Graham Bell that made the phone work. Well, the same thing is happening now, and most people can't see it. And because I spend my full time looking at trends and being a futurist and being a visionary, we wrote this book not knowing that we're going into this colossal lockdown. But what's happening is that we believe in our corporation 3 things. Everything we do has got to be unique. It's got to be transformational. It's got to be inevitable that if the reader reads it or somebody uses one of our company products, they're going to transform and tell everybody about it. And that's exactly what's happened. And we're in thankfulness and astound because our destiny now has become helping everyone else find their destiny, because 30 million, we could argue this, 50 million people are really unemployed, underemployed, or unhappily employed. And for the first time ever, if you really learn to ask and bounce it back and forth between you and whoever's significant to you, you will unveil who you're supposed to be, and your path will become smooth, beautiful, easy, and perfect.
I like it already. I'm signing up. So now I want to, there you go. You check one off. You got one. I want to ask this question before I get to some standard Thrive Out questions, because it was bugging me along the way. And that is that you gave this cocoon example, and I totally agree with you that, when we're festered into these places that we can't move and we're stuck and we're just waiting to explode. They called it the Roaring 20s after the Spanish flu of 1919 for a reason, right? 100 years ago. What do you guys anticipate is going to happen as we start to matriculate a little bit better out of this cocoon and those butterflies start to flap? Where do you see things going? I'll go from the futurist. Actually, I'll go to you first, Crystal, and then we'll hit Mark on this. Where do you see things going if you have a gut or things that we're going to take from this stage with us into the next decade here moving forward?
Right. Well, I think, and we're seeing this, I think if people have spent their time wisely, because suddenly we had this time that we always said, if I only had this time, we finally got this time, right?
Be careful what we wished for right now.
Right, exactly. And I think a lot of people realized that it was time to use that time wisely and sort of do that inner reflection. And we've just been encouraging people so much as we've gone through all these podcasts, because the 3 channels through which to ask is ask yourself, ask others, and ask God. Well, the ask yourself part is that reflective journey. And that's the journey that we all hopefully have been taking during this lockdown. If you haven't done it yet, please sit down. This time with yourself is the best time that you'll ever spend in your life. And you'll need to make it a habit, because it's not, life continues to happen. So it's that commitment we need to make to ourselves. But, we say that in the ask yourself part, there are three people say, well, what should I ask? I mean, what are the best questions to ask? And we give a lot of amazing examples of questions in the book, but there are really three phases to that ask yourself part. And those are, where am I now, right? That's the first critical phase, because you can't ever figure out where to go from here until you understand where you are. Where am I right now? Is it working? Do I like it? Am I happy? Is there something I'm missing, right? And then the second critical phase is, where do I want to be? Because so few people allow themselves that liberty, that place to go, to dream and imagine. And, we're the only animals on the face of the planet that were given this incredible thing called imagination by God. We were literally, when we say you're created in God's image, we can imagine anything, and any great thing that's ever come to be first started in some person's imagination. And you have that same thing. You have that imagination. So we say, where do I want to be in that phase? Start from the nth degree of your greatest success, your greatest happiness in mind, and then ask those questions backward. From this greatest career that I am in, how did I get here? Who am I talking to every day? What's important to me every day in this greatest career manifestation? Who are my best clients? What's the best thing about the product or the service that I'm sharing? And in that way, you start to engineer your perfect life backwards. And you can do it with relationships or your health and wellness or your career. And then the final thing is, where am I now? Where do I want to be? And what specific steps do I need to take to get there? Because you need to put your asking journey into action. And so during this time, we've really tried to help people take that journey forward. It's the most important thing. And we're saying, we want to create master askers. We want to create millions and millions of master askers, because this is how we're going to get to the next level. And if we do this correctly, we're going to come out better, stronger, wiser, and more prepared than we ever have been in our entire lives.
I joke about it. You just described what I call the shopping mall kiosk example. When you go there, what's the first thing you do? You look for the "You Are Here" sign. Where are you? And then you figure out where I want to go. Where's the place I go? And then how am I going to get there? Isn't that really what it is? That's what life is all about in each way. And I love it. You've done it with the ask piece. Okay. So now, Mark, as it relates to ask and this path of getting there, and recognizing that you have a knack for combining business messages, life messages, self-fulfilling purpose messages in all your works that you do. Is that your superpower, Mark? Is that ability through all these years of writing, not necessarily that you're always an author and that you've been writing 300 some odd books, is it the ability to interweave the different buckets of our lives through one common theme?
Wow. I've never heard it articulated so eloquently. So thank you. I will pat you on the back metaphorically. How's that? And I'll say that thank you and say that, because I define an entrepreneur as somebody who finds a problem, and boy, there are a lot of problems now, more than ever. I don't think you'll disagree. If you do, I want to hear that argument. But find a problem, fix it, scale it, and make a vast profit with it. And my goal was because I came out of poverty, as you know, Danish immigrants and all that stuff. And I had remedial reading the first 6 years of my life, and now I'm world's best-selling author. I just got Book of the Year author award a couple of days ago. So that's pretty good transformation. And what I'm saying is every one of us is here to transform at a mental level, a cellular level, if you don't mind my saying so, at a financial level, because a lot of people had cut their legs off. You've just been fired. You're a flight attendant or a pilot or whatever, and there's nowhere to jump to because there's no one flying. And now you can't fly to Australia or a lot of places. So you're going to say, well, what are you going to do? Well, I'm saying right now, as we come out of this thing, just like 1898, what you did in 1939, what we're doing is I'm saying we're going to do 50 trillion, not billion, spelled with the T dollars worth of business in America in these glorious new companies I'm looking at where you can do trash to cash and take water out of the air and do stuff that's never been done before. Sort of like, remember, you and I are old enough. I can tell by looking at you and I got these wonderful.
He just hit me with that, didn't he? That, as opposed to Crystal, who looks so much younger than all of us. Thank you so much for highlighting that point. But yes,
12, 15 years ago, everyone would have said to Steve Jobs, "Are you nuts? Nobody's going to have a cell phone. They weigh 50 pounds and they're 4 feet tall." That's never. And by the way, they cost $4,000, Mr. Jobs. And no, you're not going to take pictures. That's Kodak. They own that, and they're in your neighborhood there in New York. So right? I mean, take it. And what I'm saying is we're going the most exciting time ever because people are learning to ASK, and we're teaching something nobody else is doing. Become a master asker.
Yeah,
and after they get the book, and most times they're getting it on Amazon, we're saying go to askthebookclub.com, and we're going to teach you for free how to become a master asker.
I like it. Tough to say, master asker, but I'm getting used to it. It's rolling off the tongue every now and then. Okay. So this is a signature question we ask on Thrive Loud, and I whoever wants to take it first, but I'm interested in both of you and how you do it. Look, you've been thriving in your lives, in your marriage, in your businesses, in the books that you're reading, and obviously this new book, Ask, which is awesome because that's why you're on Thrive Loud, because you thrive on most days. But like everybody else, we have days when we're not quite kicking on all cylinders. Crystal and Mark, when you guys have trouble thriving, who or what practice do you seek to get yourself back on the thriving track?
Right. That's where we completely rely on that meditation time like that. It's because it's a grounding time, because of course life continues to happen and it's going to happen forever. And there are bumps and twists and turns, and some days just really suck. And so, we need to have a method. We need to have, habits. And what Mark and I do we just love this time because it changes our state. And, most of the time when we're not having a good day, we're in a bad state. We have to figure out a way to change our state. And there's no better way than to spend some quiet time in meditation, put on some music that's really soothing and transformational, breathe deeply. Breath is really important. And then start to look at things from another perspective. Gratitude's a great way to start that session, because when you're in a state like that, you're usually looking at everything that's wrong. Okay.
Yeah.
So the only way to get out of that state, the more you keep looking at everything that's wrong, the less creative you're going to be. It's not a great way to get where you want to be. So switching it to gratitude, and even when you just feel like really crunchy inside and you don't want to do it, it's like, no, there's a lot to be grateful for. Like, I have 2 eyes to see. My body works great. I have, when you look at the rest of the world, people are suffering. There's a lot of suffering going on. We have nothing to complain about. There are things that we have to deal with every day, and everybody can do this process. We all have so much more to be grateful about than we realize. And gratitude is an interesting thing, because it doesn't matter how successful you are. If you don't understand the importance and how to express gratitude, you will never be happy. You could have the entire world. You could have all the cars, all the airplanes, all the houses you want, and you'll still never be happy, because if you can't, gratitude is the simple recognition of what you have.
Yeah.
And if you don't have that and you can't feel thankfulness for it, then you'll never transcend that. So starting with gratitude, switching state, and then just refocusing on, the important things, asking the questions. What are the big goals? What are our priorities? And in that way, you start to change everything.
Let's do the admin part of the show here for you guys. Share with the listeners. You started hinting to it, but let's get it drilled down. We will put it all in the show notes. But it always gets more engagement when they hear it from you. Either one of you. Where are we going to get the book? Learn more about you guys, social media, links, etc. Go.
Thank you. You got to get the book more or less at Amazon, and that literally is working around the world right now, because a lot of places, bookstores are closed and states are closed and countries are closed. So that's a little issue that no publisher ever saw coming. And the other problem was that the bookstores thought they were going to be 2 weeks closed, and they paid their rent bills and didn't pay the publisher, and publishers aren't sending out books. So Amazon is the big behemoth. They're continuing to work. And then go to markvictorhansen.com or
crystalvisionlife.com.
And Crystal Dwyer Hansen and Mark Victor Hansen are on every part of social media, so you can find us everywhere. It's everywhere, and we're having fun being everywhere, and we love to answer people's stuff. And thanks for laughing at that silliness that both of us have been media eyes to.
If you can't laugh, what's the point of going around? It makes you feel good when you do so. All right.
God gave us 3 things: the ability to laugh. Hyenas can laugh, but not at themselves and each other, or jokes and stuff. The power to ask, which we're unique to, I believe. And then number 3, as Crystal alluded to, imagination. No other animal in the kingdom has that, and maybe nowhere else in the universe, although I can't prove that.
They also gave us really cool thumbs, but that's aside from the whole conversation here.
That's right. The thumb thing.
So
an opposable thumb. I learned
Opposable
that
thumb.
in psychology. You're right.
So, permission, Crystal and Mark, to take you guys down Fun Street. Are you guys ready to do a little rock down the Thrive Loud Fun? It was like, oh yeah, he's got some voiceover voices there. People. Mark's been practicing. Okay. Share with the listeners. Let's go for each of you. Your all-time favorite movie. Crystal, I'll go with you first.
Sound of Music.
Sound of
All-time
Music.
favorite. I love that movie.
What connects so much with you about it? What is the thing that makes you go, oh?
Just the love story, the romance, this, Captain Von Trapp was so shut down. He lost everything. And this beautiful, it's just so unlikely, the beautiful nun, Fräulein Maria comes and she has no intention of doing anything but being dutiful and taking care of the children. But this overwhelming love and attraction that they had for each other they couldn't stay apart. And then, dealing with the whole Nazi invasion was just so powerful, and how their family just was able to pull together through that. I just think it's it is absolutely my all-time favorite film.
Unanswerable question I've always wanted to know. How cold was it up in the Alps when they were trying to move over into Switzerland? I mean, just keep thinking how cold it must have been that night.
Right? And they didn't have all-weather gear, right? How did they do
They were still wearing shorts and knickers. I mean, I don't get it.
By the way, their knickers would be nicked.
The knicker would be nicked. So, Mark, do you have a favorite movie?
First of all, I will agree with that, but because I expect you on a different movie, I happen to be a scholar in a guy named George. The guy anyhow, Professor Higgins is a movie, but it's Pygmalion.
Oh, My Fair Lady.
Yeah, My Fair Lady. Good, you do know. See how smart you are?
I'm not smart. Well, only because the truth is I never would have gotten that quick. When I was, I believe, in the 5th grade, we put on a performance of My Fair Lady, and I was Colonel Pickering, who would work with.
Could you believe that?
Yeah. Well, by the way, I was in theater all the time, and I happen to think, first of all, I love George Bernard Shaw as a thinker, as a philosopher. If he didn't have a place to talk, he would just stand up in London, stand on the street corner and draw an audience, and they'd all buy his book. So to me, he's beyond amazing, but I'm glad that you love My Fair Lady. And I think I'll probably watch that at least as many times as I've watched what she just talked about.
And Audrey Hepburn isn't so hard to look at either. So
okay.
Okay. So now we're going down the speed round of Fun Street. I'm going to explain how this works, and this should be very interesting to see where this goes. I am going to ask you a question, and I want you to whatever comes quickest to your mind. You don't have to think too much about it. And since there's 2 of you, you're going to have a chance to possibly hear a little bit longer when I get to each one of you. These are things that lift you up, make you feel good, make you thrive. So ready for this speed round of Fun Street here?
Yes.
Mark is absolutely mesmerized by this part. Ready? Mark, I'll start with you to go with this. Mark, ready? A song or music piece that you love to hear that pumps you up?
All of Andrew Lloyd Webber.
Crystal, same question.
Oh, I love Andrew Lloyd Webber too. I love so much music. This is one of my least favorite questions because I don't have a favorite song. I just love so many different types of music. I'll tell you whose music I really love, and this is going to sound crazy. Helen Reddy. I just watched the movie of Helen Reddy. She was such an did I say movie? No, it wasn't a documentary. It's actually a film, but she's amazing. She upset rock and roll at that time, and she was part of the women's empowerment movement.
Yeah. So
she's coming to my mind right now, but I love so much music. We'd have to spend a lot longer on this. Okay, sorry.
Listeners, I'm so glad that we entered the speed round of the question here. Okay. Crystal, I'll start now with you. Crystal, a favorite food that's not a dessert?
Pickles.
Mark.
Are you pregnant?
I love sour things.
Mark, a favorite food that's not a dessert?
You love salmon.
Mark, a favorite dessert?
Favorite dessert, unequivocally, red velvet cake is, because my dad was a baker and made it, and it's called Waldorf Astoria cake in New York, in case you didn't know, for $75 a piece.
Whoa. Crystal, favorite dessert?
Key lime pie.
Crystal, an activity you wish you did more of?
I wish I could ski more, but now I'm thinking I'm going to have to bring my skiing career to a close because I have a torn meniscus. It's so frustrating.
Mark, an activity you wish you did more of?
Travel again, because I've gotten to climb all the highest mountains of Machu Picchu and Fuji and Kilimanjaro, and I want to be able to do that again. And we're sequestered. How's that? I'll be polite.
Fair enough. An activity, Mark, you wish you did less of?
I have a dang near perfect life, so I don't wash my own car or anything like that. So I can't think of one. Sorry.
Okay, Crystal, an activity you wish you did less of?
Oh yeah, that's a good one. I mean, we do have a pretty good life. I mean, and I honestly don't mind like.
You don't have to have a bad life to have to do something less of, or you don't have to have. You could have the greatest life. There still could be something.
Less of, like cleaning up the floor or whatever.
Sure, there you go.
Crumbs on the floor, and crumbs are on the floor a lot. Every time
picking up crumbs. I knew this speed round would take a whole new direction. Never thought it would go here. Okay, Crystal, if you could snap your fingers and go anywhere in the world, where are you?
Italy.
Mark.
Florence.
We happen to love Florence, but I think I would go to. By the way, I got about 10 places I want to go, and even Easter.
You get to pick one.
Right now.
Easter Island.
Okay. Last question to bring this home. Help our listeners understand, if you were a first-time reader of the book Ask, what would be the takeaway that you would get from it?
The takeaway is that there is no mechanism that has the ability to reveal what is hidden like asking.
For the first time reader, I'd say read The Fable of Michaela. And what happens is my opinion is it seduces the intellect to bypass, suspend itself, so they read through the whole book and they have their life transformed.
Crystal, Dwyer Hansen, Mark, Victor Hansen. Everybody's going to check out Ask where they can. We're going to put all the links in the show notes. To say we had fun is an understatement, but I was truly a pleasure to have both of you on Thrive Loud today. It was really an honor and a privilege to meet both of you, but also to connect and have this conversation. Thank you so much for coming on Thrive Loud.
We had a great time. Thank you so much.
It was totally delightful.
And to all our listeners and viewers out there, thank you for joining us. And until next time, keep thriving onward and upward. And remember, be brief, be bright, be gone.
You've been listening to Thrive Loud with your host, Lou Diamond. Check us out on the web at thriveloud.com and follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook at Thrive Loud. And check us out on the Good Pods app at Thrive Loud, where you can follow, listen, and connect directly to Lou and all of the Thrive Loud episodes. Thanks for listening.